What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Golf on Tap. As always, I'm Jack Bushman, joined by Ross Baran. If you're tuning in right now from the jump, be sure to go and jump on over to the YouTube feed so you can interact with us. Let us know who you're going to be tailing this week at the 3M Open, who you're going to be fading, what your best bets are, and also your reaction to Xander Schauffele taking down the 152nd Open Championship to win his second major of the year. Ross, the final major of 2024 certainly did not disappoint. We got the carnage we wanted. Saturday was one of my favorite major championship rounds that I have ever watched. I love watching these boys struggle out there. We don't get enough of it in the modern day PGA Tour. Those back 9 holes were about as brutal as it gets. It was lovely, Ross. I certainly enjoyed it. It really, that Saturday, I even texted you on Friday afternoon along with Tony Marchese in our group chat saying I was getting some ideas that it was sounding like Saturday at Troon was going to be a lot like Saturday at Oak Hill in your neck of the woods at the 2023 PGA Championship, where there was the bad weather going down. Everyone out there was tuning in. Make sure to crack them alongside Ross, by the way. But the weather was coming down. We got the backward hats. Everyone was just scrambling to make par. I love that type of golf. So I loved everything that we got out of the Open Championship. Xander Schauffele, man, an unbelievable victory. Ross, how you doing here on this Wednesday afternoon? And give me your first reactions following the Open Championship, my friend.
So I'm doing well. We're running a little later than normal this week, but we can't fix technical difficulties. Those things happen. But man, there's just something about the Open every single year that you turn it on your TV. The skyline there is gray. They're all in rain gear, whatever. You don't even need to know the time of the year. You can look at that picture every single year and you just know what tournament it is. It sets up that way every single year. And I know it's Open Rota. I know it's the location. That's just what happens. But it's one of those picturesque things where if you put it in front of a golf fan and say, what tournament is this? And it's just a picture of a golfer somewhere, you'll be able to go, oh, that's the Open. Like, I guarantee that's the Open.
100%. The uniqueness, the differences in the style of golf that you can play out there, and you can't just go and overpower a golf course like that, and the elements being so vastly involved in the difficulty of the tournaments, man. That's what I love. And the Saturday round was as tough as you're going to see out of majors. Sunday wasn't as difficult, but it sure made for an electric finish. And at the end, it's Xander Schauffele who comes through, Ross, not only a second major of the year, his second major in his last 3 major starts. And we were having conversations about Xander following the Players' Championship, following the Masters, following the Sunday at the Wells Fargo, where Rory went nuclear on him after he was up by 2 or 3 shots going into the back 9. We talked about the choker mantra and Xander never being able to go and get over the hump. My, oh my, has the narrative around the X-Man changed mightily over the last couple of months. And man, it's well-deserved. We always knew that Xander Schauffele had these capabilities. It was just whether he could get over the finish line. And, getting that victory at Valhalla, it really felt like it benefited him going into Sunday. And quite honestly, Ross, how I always envisioned Xander Schauffele winning his first major championship wasn't how he did it at Valhalla as the front runner. I always figured it was going to be a situation like this past Sunday at Troon, where he was kind of a couple strokes back, not having the pressure of having to sleep on the lead and then just going out and executing that final round. We finally saw it happen at Royal Troon, and now it gets him his second major, man. Super impressive stuff from Xander Schauffele, dude.
Yeah, I mean, you had a feeling it was coming for Xander for being the silver medalist for so long in so many tournaments. And that was his only narrative. It's not like we're saying he's a bad golfer. The dude's finishing the top 10 literally just about every tournament. The dude's in the running at some point between the 4 rounds. Xander is towards the top of the leaderboard. Whether he finishes the 4 rounds, that's what ends up being the main discussion. But it's not like he's a joke or anything. We're talking about a guy that historically finishes like T8 in almost every tournament he's ever played in year round. It was just, when is he finally going to break through? Was it the ideal situation with Valhalla being the way it was,
where cupcake?
Just hit it a mile down there, it's gonna plug, you get to pick in place, and then you can wedge it in there, it's gonna plug again, you can pick in place, knock down birdie, we're on to the next. This was a defining one for him, that he went and got it. That he's a couple behind, and then they make that turn, and he just puts it in the high gear and peace out, see you later. I'm leading by 3 strokes for the majority of the back 9. Y'all have to come get me. The problem is, I know you're not going to come get me because I'm just in my zone now.
Yeah, he hit the full Tyreek Hill cheetah peace sign on his way to a victory at Royal Troon. But, dude, that back 9 was incredible. Birdieing 11, which has been, like one of the tougher holes on the course all week long, and just not making mistakes down the stretch, fairway, green. And on a course like Royal Troon, even when the conditions are easier, that is still difficult to do. And I go back to the Saturday round, man. There was Tristan Lawrence. There was also Russell Henley and Sam Burns, who had all of those low rounds early on to kind of get themselves in contention. But Xander had just a good of round as anyone, despite not having that low score on Saturday, just because of how solid he was playing, how he was hanging in there through those difficult conditions. And that, I felt like that kind of elevated him onto those easier conditions on Sunday to kind of keep that momentum going and sort of pick up where he left off. But yeah, that back 9, dude, was lights out, ice cold, well-rounded Xander that we always have known he is capable of being. And maybe his well-rounded nature we should have paid a little bit more attention to going into this major championship. But Ross, ultimately, like what it came down to for us, it wasn't that neither of us were feeling high on Xander. We just weren't going to bet him at that number that he was going to win a second major in that short of a time period. It had nothing to do with his game, similar to the narratives around him for years and years of being a silver medalist. It really had nothing to do with his game. It was just his inability to get over the finish line time and time again. But golf narratives are always so weird, Ross. They can change in a matter of months. And when you're looking at tournaments, there's only one winner. There's 156 losers. And sometimes we shit on and poo-poo the guy who comes T3 more than the guys who come T40 or T45. It's just a weird game.
And that is where I'm going to bring my first question for my trusted partner from our good friend, Tweeth Mitchell. Tweeth Mitchell, we had a conversation offline, and I asked him his thoughts on this tournament. And he said one of the biggest questions he was looking to be answered is, who is the second best player on the planet right now? And coming out of this tournament, we find out that it's Scottie Schauffele.
Oh, I don't think so. I won't go that far. I don't think I'm ready to go that far yet. But it is a close debate because of how consistent Xander has been. I mean, we talk about Scottie Scheffler's consistency. Xander's been just as consistent, just without the wins. Now, here, do you want to get into the player of the year debate now that everyone is happening? Because I feel like it goes hand in hand with this conversation, quite honestly, because they're the two. They're the two at this point.
I think it absolutely does. And to be fair to Tweeth, I do see his argument of, if you're going over consistency, yes, Scottie has the wins, but if you're looking at the overall boat of work, what's Xander's average finish this year? T8. Yes, he's only got 2 wins, but it's 2 majors. But overall, the entire time, he's played more tournaments than Scottie has, and he's averaging what, 8th?
No, it is overall. It is definitely a close
It's a fair argument. I can see it. I still think Scottie is the number one, but I can see the opening for the argument when you look at the overall body of work that has occurred in the number of tournaments Xander has played versus what Scottie has played. Xander's played more. It's that simple, and has still finished more consistently than Scottie has in the ones that he did not win. But when it comes to this, the only thing it comes down to for me, if we're talking Xander and Scottie, player of the year overall, who has better season, the only question I have is, in 20 years, are we going to remember when Scottie won 6 events, the Masters, and yes, it's 5 signature elevated events. I get that. But in 20 years, are we going to remember Scottie winning 6 events? Or are we going to remember the year that Xander took home half the majors and finally broke through?
No, I feel that 100%. 2024, even if Scottie goes on to win the FedEx Cup, 2024 will be remembered as Xander Schauffele's year. Because when you look back a decade from now, yeah, maybe some people remember Scottie's incredible run, winning 6 times in that stretch, the first player, and I forget how long to do so, right? Making history is always memorable, but it's the majors, man. Brooks Koepka has been preaching it for a decade. It's all anyone quite honestly gives a shit about when we're talking about legacy here. So when we're talking about legacy, I think, yes, it is the year of Xander Schauffele. This is Xander Schauffele's year. What I will say about the player of the year debate, probably not the most takesman type of answer here. I think it's going to come down to the FedEx Cup playoffs. I think it ultimately comes down to which one of those two wins the FedEx Cup, I believe deserves to win player of the year. And I think that probably is what will determine it. I will say, kind of based on the bylines of how the PGA Tour has kind of gone about these things in recent years, I would have to say that Scottie still does have the edge because of those 6 wins. Whether you think that's right or wrong, that's an argument in alone of itself. I'm just speaking as to kind of how the PGA Tour has gone about things. But if Xander goes and wins the FedEx Cup and has 2 majors, in my opinion, there is no way you can give Scottie Scheffler player of the year. No way.
So here's another counterpoint that, yes, I completely agree with you. If Xander goes and wins the FedEx Cup, chase it, especially because we already know Scottie's going to start with the lead. If Xander goes, catches him, everything. But a mini teaser, we have this wonderful world tournament coming up in about a week and a half where they individually play each other for medals. What is your opinion if Xander goes and gets gold again?
So I was actually listening to a podcast talk about this topic, and I don't know necessarily if the gold medal weighs into the player of the year. I'm not sure if that
I don't believe it does. I believe it's considered. This is more for our take and our perspective.
No, I'm in agreement with you. It should count.
I would take it. Even if Scottie were to win, I would be the one that would probably go to my deathbed saying, "Yeah, but when they went head to head in the world championships, Xander got him in that same year," and I would definitely defend that.
No, I'm fully in agreement with you. I would certainly look at it different. I would weigh it in the conversation for player of the year. I was just wondering as to whether the PGA Tour holds that in guidelines or something. If they do,
I don't think they look at anything like that. That is more for the interest of the conversation, where we could debate this for decades moving forward at who was the player of the year. I would still bring up that it didn't count for shit against the points, but remember when Xander got gold and Scottie took silver.
For sure. Okay, so here let's spin this a couple of different ways since it's just on my mind. Let's say Xander wins the gold, Scottie wins the FedEx Cup. Who deserves player of the year in your mind?
I'm still going to say I'm going to sound like a golf hardo, sicko, whatever you want to call me. I still think it's the majors, man. I still think it's if you look at the body of work, yes, did Scottie win 6 freaking tournaments? Whatever. Xander averaged finishing T8 all year and took home 2 of the crown jewels. The 4 things we focus on every freaking year that people get excited about to tune into, Xander brought home 2 of them.
Yeah, no, I fully am there with you.
And if you want to really work this up. Not only did he take home 2 of them, he caught Scottie for the same number of them in the same year.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
if we're going overall player of the year, not only did he take half of them home, but he tied Scottie with the same amount. And there's diversity in Xander's portfolio now versus Scottie. Scottie's got the 2 green jackets. Xander's got half the Grand Slam.
Yeah. Personally, Scottie, for me, I don't know if the PGA Tour is going to feel this way, and I just outlined kind of how they've gone about things. If Scottie doesn't win the FedEx Cup, I think Xander should win Player of the Year because he has those 2 majors. Will he? That's a whole nother question. There's also an interesting kind of loop in here too, Ross, where I feel like, and I was having a conversation with a buddy about this actually over the weekend, I feel like enough people haven't necessarily put into perspective, and quite honestly, it could be because low-key, no one really cares about the FedEx Cup playoffs all that much. They care about majors a lot more. I don't know if it's been talked about enough how, even though how good Scottie Schauffele has been, even though he's been phenomenally consistent and has these 6 victories, should he go on to be leading the FedEx Cup, which he's going to be through St. Jude and the BMW Championship, that's still only going to buy him 2 strokes at Eastlake. And he's blown it at Eastlake each of the last 2 years to Rory and to Victor Hovland. So it's maybe not as set in stone that Scottie goes and wins the FedEx Cup as we think. And I do wonder if neither Xander nor Scheffler win the FedEx Cup. Like, I personally think Colin Morikawa has been playing such good golf and could win something big. Like, if he rattles off the BMW Championship and the Tour Championship, he's not going to be in the Player of the Year conversation, but I still wonder how that's going to impact everything. But ultimately, to me, Ross, for Player of the Year, it's going to come down to what happens in the FedEx Cup playoffs. I think that's what's ultimately going to determine the winner in my mind.
I mean, I feel the same way. I think that's where we have to go. I think one of the things we can look at is suddenly Scottie doesn't look so hot on the greens anymore.
Oh boy, he also didn't look very good off the 18th tee on Sunday. He had a shot that me and you would hit out there on Troon. But no, I mean, he missed so many putts. And that's what's kind of the scary part about him going into Sunday, is he was straight dog water with the flat stick on Saturday and basically through 3 rounds. His tee to green had been immaculate as it's been for the entirety of the season. And it was like, oh boy, Scheffler hasn't made a putt to save his life. He's only back 2 strokes going on into Sunday. Here we go again. Fortunately, Ross, the Marchese curse came into effect. Tony Marchese placed a wager down on Scottie Scheffler, which meant he had no chance to win this tournament. So, yeah, what were your kind of thoughts about Scottie on the putting greens again? It's kind of been a hiccup for him recently. And I ultimately think it goes back to him not playing in Scotland the week before, which I think was a major mistake, and I know you do as well.
Yeah, I think him not playing in Scotland and just being in like we said, I'm pretty sure we can go back and clip and quote this, that I said I think the difference with, yes, he was playing like Trump Turnberry or whatever that week, and instead I thought the difference is going to be you're not in a competitive environment. You don't have fans around, you're not knocking down the putts. It's a whole different environment there. And I would say probably the hottest take I have moving forward is I fully believe Russell Henley probably could have won this Open if Russell Henley could putt like Russell Henley on Sunday.
Dude, he had birdie looks on every hole. Every hole. He was striking the ball so well despite being like 30 yards back of everyone, dude. He's been great in majors this year. And that was like my talking point. Go betting him at 120-1. He's been better in majors than people think this year and better in majors through his career. He was live on Sunday, man. He was live.
I saw no one mentioning besides Tweeth again saying he thought Russell was going to have a great day, be someone to look at. I know I tagged you in it and said Jack's all in with you on it, and then he went out there, gave himself, out of the 18 holes, I felt like he had 17 looks and didn't knock down a single one of them. Where I will go on record and say I think in any alternate universe where Russell Henley knocks down half these putts, Russell Henley is our Open champion.
Yeah, it really was not that far removed from being a reality. Like Russell Henley was striking his golf ball. Yeah, unfortunately, he just couldn't make any putts. Like he was making so many putts the first 12 or 13 holes on Saturday, man, which was so impressive. And then he got caught up like at the end of his round was when the bad weather was really creeping in, and I was watching him finish. And even those missed putts kind of came into effect the last couple holes on Saturday too, Ross. 16, 17, and 18. He missed those putts all within a couple of feet. But yeah, he played really well, and we'll see how that bodes for him not only through the remainder of this season, but in major championships next year. We got to bring up a couple of other guys who were involved in the mix heavily at the Open Championship this past weekend as well. Most notably, the backwards hat boys, backwards hat Billy, and also backwards hat Justin Rose, baby. I'll start with Justin Rose. He was awesome, and so was Billy Horschel, but you could just tell the emotion, the passion, the fire that Justin Rose was playing with, the fist pumps making those clutch putts. And that's twice this year, man, where Rosie has been right in the thick of things at major championships. So, got to give kudos to him. I know it didn't end the way he wanted it to in front of a crowd that was certainly cheering heavily for him. But, man, seeing Rose perform like this in majors, you got to feel like there's at least another win or something coming here in the not so distant future for him, right?
That's where I'm going to disagree with you. I think we're on the cowboy rides away moment, and I think that was him rising up to. He's 44. He had to play a qualifier to get in this thing.
Which is
I think that
bogus.
I think that, and I mean, he's been playing this thing since 1998 when he was 17, right? So I think we that it was one of those moments where he realized it's in his grasp through all apples in the basket went for it in general. I don't know if we're going to get this kind of performance again. I'm not going to be surprised to see him win an event. Th- that that part will not surprise me because he's just always a sharpshooter. Can come out of nowhere, throw a couple, put together 4 rounds, and go low. I think this was the cowboy rides away moment for getting that major,
Yeah, no, I'm firmly
for
in
or at
agreement
least
there.
adding to his major legacy. I think this was going to be the last time we really got that. I don't think we're going to get a Phil at the PGA winning at 51. I don't think we're going to get that out of Justin Rose. I think we can get competitive rounds. I think there's going to be a little bit to make it twitch on you and get you a little excited, old feels. But I think this was the final ditch effort where he truly thought and embraced, this is my last chance. I got to go get it. And you know what? I'm going to say any other day that Xander doesn't have that back nine, we're looking at Justin Rose and Billy Horschel in a playoff, which at that point, I'm sorry, but hats off. Too much emotion for me that either way, I'm probably going to cry with a winner.
Yeah, it would have
Like
been a real toughie to choose.
either way, I'm going to be happy.
It would have
Good
been a
for
real toughie.
good for either one of you. I'd actually probably also cry for the loser for the fact that the loser doesn't get this.
Right, right. Yeah, it would have been real tough to choose between two of our favorites here on the show. And getting over to Billy Horschel now, man, we got to start with Billy on Saturday because the chipping was literally the chipping and putting was some of the best short game I've literally ever seen. I mean, anytime Billy missed a green, you're like, this is going in the hole or to an inch. I mean, the guy was lipping out everything. The putter was on absolute fire. He was rocking the backwards hat. It was epic prime time Billy. And one thing about Billy Horschel, even though he's been a little bit lackluster throughout his career in major championships, whenever he's involved in something, it's usually big, man. Like the Memorial, the FedEx Cup, the BMW Championship. Maybe the consistency of a top player isn't there or hasn't been there historically for Billy Horschel, but he's someone who can rise to these big moments. And he loves playing with that passion and that energy. And I give him a lot of credit as well as being one of the few PGA Tour players, Ross, based in the United States who actually regularly go over to Europe and enjoy playing that style of golf. I clearly think it worked wonders on him this week, and seems like the fans, for the most part, enjoyed the type of energy that he was providing out there. I know he's a big football fan, which I'm sure they were enjoying as well. It was just so much fun watching Billy Horschel in this type of environment where he thrives, and that awesome finish. I know Sunday, for the most part, didn't go the way that he wanted it to, but to finish with 3 birdies in a row and to come up T2 with Justin Rose was fantastic.
So I have 2 things. Actually, technically, we're going to go 3 things here. First of all, fucking let's go, Billy Ho. My favorite thing Saturday with the chipping, everything that he was doing was, I don't know if you saw the meme, but someone cropped the meme from Harry Potter. You're a wizard, Billy.
He was a wizard, dude. He was out of this world. He was bonkers.
There's that, and then just the whole saga of Billy Ho, from winning the Memorial 2 years ago to last year being in tears, basically being dead last in the tournament. That how fucking hard the game of golf is. That last year I'm a champion here. This year I'm almost dead last. I'm complete opposite of what I was doing, to this complete resurgence of him. I guess the best way I could put it is I had multiple conversations with some of our other friends off camera that when Billy Ho first came around, I kind of thought Billy Ho was a prick.
Same.
Just
didn't like him.
His attitude, everything just came off as a prick to me. Felt entitled, didn't like it. And then this second act of his career, the humbled, taking a step back, making a resurgence, refocusing on himself, to winning down in Puerto Rico, to get having to play the opposite field events in general, let alone win them, to get himself in some of these big things. It was incredible to see Billy Ho do this. And then I don't know if you saw the announcement today, but Irish Open in September at Royal County Down, Billy Ho is in.
No surprise there. No surprise there. I hope more PGA Tour pros take a lesson from Billy Ho and go and get yourself involved in those type of tournaments. It's a great experience. It's a fun time, a different type of golf, and it shapes out well for these style of majors.
But now here is the question that I am not sorry to set you up on air for. Heavily asked question that I've had to answer multiple times this week between our takesman friends, everything. Who had the bigger week for them professionally, Justin Rose or Billy Ho?
I would say Billy Horschel. I would say Billy Horschel for sure. Because we have seen Justin Rose at that level, I think a little bit more recently than Billy. Yeah, Billy had the victory at Memorial, but it's been a while since he won the FedEx Cup and the BMW Championship, and was, I guess you would kind of say, in the prime of his career during that first act, which we referenced. Justin Rose has been there. Justin Rose has been there in major championships. He's a gold medalist. Even though he is the older of the two, I think the expectation of their ceiling as golfers, Justin Rose was thought of in a different breath, whereas Billy really hadn't kind of mixed in a major championship throughout his career all that much, or all that notably, at least, in the final couple of pairings going into Sunday, right? So I would say it's bigger for Billy Horschel. Even though he's got more time left than Justin Rose, I still would lean Billy Horschel's direction. It's a toughie, though.
And also, we'll get to it later, but I did fade Billy Ho this week.
I'm fading Billy Ho. Coming off the high of his life, he's now going to Minnesota. I'm off Billy Ho.
There's a difference between playing in Troon and playing TPC Twin Cities. I'm sorry, Billy.
100%.
I love you. I will always cheer for you, but not this week, my friend.
The travel is going to be difficult as well. Yeah, multiple different reasons. I am out on our boy.
You want to talk about travel problems?
Wesley?
Sam Stevens, Wesley Bryan. Jesus.
Yeah, some travel problems for sure. Glad those boys got there in one piece. Last little thing I had from the Open, Ross, was Shane Lowry, because like we saw Justin Rose pop up at the PGA Championship, we saw Shane Lowry pop up there too, and we know he's a former Open champion, was playing excellent through 36 holes. And then the weekend scaries came to hit old Shane. And I kind of knew it was going to go this way, Ross, because anytime I see Shane Lowry doing good on putting in the first couple of days, it was like Valhalla when there was literally the graphic as he's over a 9-footer on one on Sunday, saying he hasn't missed inside 10 feet, 37 for 37 all week long. What does he do? He misses the putt on the first hole. There is going to be a round where Shane Lowry makes nothing on the weekends. It's just what he does. But to go fully lost the way that he was after making a 5 at the postage stamp, it felt like he just fully lost control of the tournament. And even though if you look at the scores going into Sunday, he still had a chance, it felt like there was basically a bow on his Open Championship already with how defeated and especially emotionally drained and how he was kind of acting out there on the course. I really didn't give him much of a chance going into Sunday personally.
Yeah. I don't know. The vibe I just got is like Shane played himself out of this. And not with his game, with his mentality.
Yeah, big time.
I feel like, you know, it's one of those things where it's good to be your own biggest critic and develop yourself, everything. I feel like he goes too hard on himself, dictates himself. Where I mean, he gave one of the best comments of the entire tournament when he was talking about I shouldn't be hitting, you know, one of the longest holes on this course. I shouldn't be hitting an iron off the tee because of the wind. The best fucking hole on this course is 100 yards.
Right.
But honestly, it's a true statement. With the postage stamp, one of the most exciting things is you flick that fucker up in the air, you try to play the wind, and you see where the hell does it land. If it doesn't land in the correct spot, you're dead.
Dead.
And that's what makes it the most fun hole.
Yeah. And dude, just how crabby he was is really what stood out to me. Especially when we were talking a little bit off air. We won't get into the actual comment that Shane said, but the radio broadcaster who he hit, and then he gets mad at him after the shot. It's like, Shane, that guy saved your ball from going out of bounds. Little do you know. It felt like he was allowing mistakes to compound on top of each other. He wasn't in the right frame of mind. And listen, those course conditions were strenuous and like that for everyone. How many tour pros after that round did we hear say on the back nine it was the hardest 9 holes they've ever played? The difference between Xander Schauffele, who was also in that wave, Scottie Scheffler, who was also in that wave, guys who didn't blow up, they kept it together mentally. They went one by one, and it felt like Shane was just allowing himself to not be as focused as he should have been in an Open Championship when he was still right there. And sure, maybe he had lost command, but he still could have been in the mix. And I was pretty disappointed with the way that he fully unraveled on that Saturday, especially for a guy who has kind of been the narrative around his career outside of the 2019 Open, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was the biggest thing that just stood out to me was the continually just being hard on himself and judging himself. And like, it's okay. It's okay to be self-critical. That's like what builds us up and makes us better. But it's the fact that like he's treating himself like he's 8 shots off the cut. Dude, you're 4 shots off the fucking lead. Shut up and go play.
Exactly my thoughts. And I hope it's an experience that Shane Lowry learns from, because we know he has the game to be in those positions going into a Saturday at a major, Sunday at a major, or the weekend of a big event, whatever it is. But for whatever reason, time and time again, he's just not able to get across the finish line. And it's almost like the conversations we were having around Xander, right? Like, we know Shane Lowry is capable. It's just about doing it for 4 rounds and getting across that finish line. So, toughy for Shane Lowry for sure. What are you saying, buddy?
And I will say, if Shane Lowry wants to come on and discuss and talk, I'm going to make a comment here that could be controversial. When it comes, one of our most frequent discussions is, does someone not have stones? Shane Lowry, I believe, has stones. I don't know if Shane Lowry has a brain all 4 rounds. He's got the stones. I don't know if he has the brain to put it together.
I think Shane has the stones until he gets on the putting greens. for whatever reason, it's always like the 6, 7 footers that when he's making them, he's one of the best. He's at the top of the leaderboard, but that's like the make or break thing for me. I don't think Shane's even like a choker. I wouldn't even put him in that conversation. But yeah, something mentally slips or lapses from him throughout the course of 72 holes. So
it's those Irish boys, you know, like when they put the plaque for the Irish Open down for Rory and they misspelled it the first time and put an extra L. That extra L was from Pinehurst.
not the whole. That's a good one. Not the brightest tools in the shed are those Irish, eh? Any final thoughts from the 152nd Open that we haven't got to, Ross? It was such a lovely event. I really did enjoy it. I said it earlier. Saturday was one of the favorite rounds I've ever watched in a major. Anything we leave out, Ross, before we kind of move on here?
I mean, I think the only thing I wanted to ask, I don't know if you saw the first round, Romain just his chip on the 8th hole and just being like,
dude, I'm not kidding. One of the funniest, dude, Christopher Powers' video of that was so funny. Literally, he just hits the chip. He's like, nope, fuck this. I'm out of here. Goes, takes the hat off, goes for the handshake. It was literally the gif of that guy doing the peace sign, and then he disappears out of nowhere. That was literally Romain on Troon in the opening round. That was quite the scene. That was hilarious.
I just love, because I don't know if I ever remember a player just being like, fuck this, I'm done.
That was gold. That was gold. My final thought from the Open. Did you see the picture of Xander and his dad smoking cigars while good old Austin Kaiser's ripping a ciggy?
Yeah, and again, iconic. I don't know how he doesn't have a cigar sponsorship, and I don't know if you saw. I don't know if you saw the conversation they had with the two of them after when they got to 18. And they asked Xander, what were the nerves like? And Xander said, I didn't have any. I put myself in his zone. But I asked Austin how he was feeling, and Austin said he was about to puke his guts out.
Yeah, I did hear that. That was great. Those two are quite the dynamic duo. And, man, crazy that those two have accomplished 2 majors now in the last 3 that we've gotten. But adieu to the major championships until the Masters. The counter starts right here, right now, Ross. Before we get to
like 268 days or something.
Can't come soon enough, my friend. Before we get into your picks of the 3 I'm open, I did want to ask your thoughts real quick on Webb Simpson being announced as the first assistant captain for Keegan Bradley at the 2025 Ryder Cup. We've obviously talked on the show about how we would like to see Phil Mickelson there. It sounds like since that topic's been thrown up, it's kind of been squashed a little bit, even though I know we both would like to see him there. But what are your thoughts about Webb being the first man named to Keegan Bradley's coaching staff?
The perfect role for someone like Webb. And initially, he was thrown out there as a potential captain, to where that gave me the big ick. Exactly. Same reaction. Big ick. But if we're going off of building a staff, solid foundational tour, longtime tour pro, major champion, overall vibes guy, someone to pick people up, good personality, well respected in the PGA Tour community. I don't think it's a terrible pick. I think the captain of this team for Webb would give me the big ick. That vice captain role, I'm okay. I think he fits the narrative. He fits the role. I hope this doesn't lead down the road to him as a potential captain. I think this is like where it tops out for him. This is the ceiling with this team and this environment. But overall, I'm not mad about it. I think that's a solid presence to have in the room. Longtime tour pro, well respected, major champion. I think overall good vibes guy. It's what it gives me, vibes guy.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't really have a take about it one way or the other. It does make sense as an established tour pro, someone who's, made crucial decisions on behalf of other tour pros. I think that's probably something worthwhile to throw in there as well. So, yeah, I was curious what you had to think about it. I did think it makes sense, but what wasn't one that's necessarily going to move the needle, but I think does fit.
Yeah. Vibes guy, glue guy is what I got from being with this nomination, which, I mean, you need that for a successful team. I think that's just what he is. And, he's going to continue to be around these guys constantly because he gets every fucking exemption in the world
Dude,
into a tournament.
so ridiculous, so ridiculous. But I do feel the same way. I don't think Webb would be the rah-rah type of guy that I'd like to see be the ultimate leader, but it is a respected guy with an opinion who's been there and done that to have some say, and I do put weight into his input. So we'll obviously see how that winds up working out.
Yeah, the vibe I got from Webb is that guy that when you come off from a difficult round, like you drop by a half shot or anything, he's the guy that Keegan makes you
mellow.
Keegan makes you go talk to him, pull you aside. Let's talk about what you did well, what we can improve on. That type of guy is what I get from Webb.
Dad coach type of vibes from
Yes.
Webb Simpson there.
Yes. Hey, let's have a quick talk.
Absolutely. All right, Ross, before I let you get on out of here, and we have a surprise for you all, as I'm going to be having Joey Ricotta jump on in here to go through our bets real quick. But I did want you, Ross, to share with all of us your selections that you made for this week's 3M Open before I let you dip on out of here, brother.
I do have my 5. I'm going to start with saying I have a fade, hard fade, no touch. No, can't believe anyone even really thinking about this. Sahith Theegala can get out of here. And I love Sahith. Can get out of here. Missed the cut all 3 times he's been at this event. The fact that he's 25-1 on boards is absolutely absurd to me because track record shows does not play this course well. And I understand he's having a career season. It does not matter you're having a career season and that your game is improved. It's not enough to make a difference at a course like this that you've historically struggled at. I don't see you winning outright. If you want me to take a flyer on a top 10, we can talk about that. I think that's more reasonable than saying an outright victory.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. And my counter would be Sahith is definitely a different type of player than he's ever been in his career when he's teed it up here before. But the past results are the past results. And I feel strongly about Sahith moving forward. I'm still not going to bet him at 25-1 with the other options up there. So I'm in agreement with you, but did you get to anyone at the top of the board here?
My first pick, actually, again, really impressive performance. Again, I think he's circling around, had a really quiet season, been on my card a couple times, was not disappointed in the past. I do have Sam Burns at 18.
A very popular pick for sure this week coming off of, I know, a disastrous Sunday, but still all in all, one of his better major performances in terms of at least getting in the mix for the first time. And his irons, one thing about Sam Burns has become very clear when he's on, he is one of the best in the world. Like his low round, like he's capable of going really, really low when he's got it. So I feel you.
So, and then if you look at his past several tournaments, I feel like the past several, he's just hanging around just outside like that top 10 range and that 10 to 15, but consistent, still right there. With the more limited field this week, I just have a good vibe coming off of last week that his game is strong, and somewhere like this he can put it all together and get a big win that is kind of a much needed win this late in the season for him to really turn it around. From there, again, these type of courses, these off-field events is what I would like to refer them to, where we're not, full field top guys in. We do have a top 10 guy in there, and Akshay at 20. Again, these types of courses, they just always play to me with him, and I just always get a vibe that in these off-week events, that when he shows up, he's one of the best in there, and he's one of the guys to beat. It just depends whether he believes that or not himself.
Yeah, and he has been the most tipped player this week, according to Golf Tips Checker, and for good reason. Obviously had a real close call at the Travelers Championship, and then probably should have won the Rocket Mortgage Classic. And I am putting a lot of stock into past performances on Midwest golf courses, so I do like Akshay a lot this week as well.
Move a little further down the board. Seen a lot of love for him, and then he's just a guy that consistently is always there. Again, in these type of off-week events, I do have the Postman at 30.
JT Poston was in the mix as much as one could be last year when Lee Hodges kind of ran away with it. And I remember people giving JT Poston crap for, I think it was at the 18th. He could have eagled and Lee Hodges could have bogeyed and maybe something could have happened. And Postman stepped up and tried to carry his second shot over the water on the 18th and hit it in the water. And people were giving him crap saying like that shot cost him like thousands of dollars. When he tweeted back, he's like, I'm out here to win, man. And I love that attitude about JT. I'm an avid JT Poston bettor and has maybe a sneaky good track record at TPC Twin Cities. So I feel the Poston love this week. And I always do because I love JT.
Moving down a little bit. This guy Sneaky is just good at these types of courses and these types of events. And I couldn't get off the number. Again, I got Mav McNeely at 50.
I'm admittedly just not there with Mav yet. I'm not going to lie. But I do think the talent long term is so good that it might be one of those where you look back in a few years and you go, how wasn't this guy rated higher? Because I do firmly believe out of the players in this field, Mav has a lot of upside. I just feel like he's still a little early on his injury return, if I'm speaking honestly, but I know plenty of people who are still betting him as well, and these are just the opinions that I tell myself to get off of people. I can't bet on every single guy, so don't let my opinion on one guy dissuade you.
And then my last and final, we're going to reach a little bit, but not too much outside our normal range on a card.
Sadly, Mateo Manacero isn't here. We can't bet him at 400-1 this week.
No, I toned it down this week. But this guy sneakily has been creeping up the board for several weeks now in the past tournaments, averaging somewhere between T21 and T14 on the tour over the past several events. I got Max Grazerman at 70-1 on my card.
Dude, I was on the Grazer train like 2 months ago. He has been playing very sneaky, consistent golf. He and Mac Meisner are both two guys who unfortunately kind of mixed last week and got on people's radar. Those were two guys I'm really looking at for the fall. But I wouldn't be surprised to see them in contention, both of them, with how well they've been playing recently. But I love to hear the Grazerman shout out because he's someone I've been sneakily keeping my eye on.
T21 at Scottish, and then last week at Barracuda T14.
He's a good player, man, and he's coming up off the Corn Ferry Tour. I think he's starting to get a lot of confidence now that he's established. I am keeping a keen eye on Matt Grazerman, but Ross, want to say thank you as always for jumping in on the show. I'm going to have Joey run up on here now so we can fly through the rest of our final bets, but Ross, best of luck. Thank you as always for your great work, and we'll be talking throughout the course of the 3M Open, my friend.
Sounds good. Until next week, buddy.
Enjoy the rest of your evening. Goodbye.
Have a good one.
You as well. And now, without any further ado, we're going to bring in the man himself with a new backdrop. Is he even in the same house? I don't know where Joey Ricotta ever is, but I'm glad to have him alongside me right now. Joey, it has been a while since we've hopped on here for a bet show. Actually, the last time we did it, we both took down Mr. Bryson DeChambeau at the U.S. Open, so I'm hoping we can keep those vibes going. It has been a while, my friend. I know life stuff goes on, and we've both been busy in separate ways, but it is good to have you back on the show, my friend. I'm excited to break everything down with you. How you doing on this Wednesday afternoon?
Man, it's great to be here, brother. It is great to be here. It's been a whole hot minute. I did not realize it's been that long. Yeah, a lot of stuff going on. A lot of fun things going on in the golf world. So it was fun to kind of sit back and listen to you guys here do your recap show and the X-Man, man. The X-Man. What?
Unbelievable.
What is going on? What is going on?
Two majors.
Not being able to win a major, and he always did really well in majors, and then finally breaking through and then getting another one this soon. I didn't see that happening this year. I just did not. Yeah, my betting card didn't go that good this last week, so there's that. But I didn't really put that many in either because, as you know, there's a lot I've had to kind of go through here these last few weeks, but hey, I mean, that's life. And I really, really am looking forward to this one here because I was able to put a little bit more attention into it. And yeah, I'm excited to run through it with you, man. How's everything going on your end?
Things are going good, man. Didn't hit a winner last week. I had Russell Henley in the mix, and he played pretty well on Sunday. Just wasn't able to make enough putts, and certainly not as many as Xander did. But funny enough, backtrack a little bit. When Ross and I talked on our show last week when going through the betting odds, we both agree, like, we like Xander. We like where his game's at. He's been consistent all year long. I just wasn't going to bet him 14-1 to win his second major in 3 starts, and then the fucker goes out and does the thing. So, all the power in the world to him. But Joey, I will say, for as frustrating as a season as this has been, for as many times as Scottie Schauffele has stolen my money from when I thought it was in my pocket,
You and me both, man. You and me both.
Davis Thompson's win at the John Deere Classic a few weeks ago put me up in the green pretty good. So despite Scotty stealing all my money, I am still positive on the year. And I think this is a good time for us to start getting back into the show because you know what's coming up, Joey.
Oh,
We
it's
got
your
the FedEx
season.
Cup playoffs, baby.
It's both of our
Playoffs.
seasons. You really, really have had a tremendous luck throughout the playoff season. So I need to be on the show because I need to pick your brain I can't believe it, dude. And not only has it been so long since we've done a show together, but 2 events left before the playoffs. That's like this season has
Dude.
This
season has
Flown.
absolutely flown by.
Yeah,
I will
flown.
correct you there.
That's the word. Sorry.
It's all good. It's all good, buddy. But yeah, no, it really does. And it's always this weird feeling of, damn, a lot has happened, but it happens so quickly. Just the course of a season goes by so fast. The 4 major championships have already come and gone, and now setting the clock to the Masters 2024. But before we get there, like you said, we got 2 final events left. We're in Minnesota, TPC Twin Cities for the 3M Open. You want me to go through the betting board, or you got it pulled up right now?
Sure, whatever works. Whatever's easiest. I got it pulled up, and I got really just honed in on the guys that I liked.
For sure.
I'll just tell you, man.
Okay, well, I'll read off the top of the board real quick here.
Yeah. Let's go through the whole thing. Yeah.
Okay, so kicking things off, we got Tony Finau as the betting favorite at 11-1, Sam Burns 18, Akshay 20, Billy Ho 22, Thigala 22, and Luke Clanton 25-1. Out of those big 6, who you on this week, Joey?
If you can't hear me or you can't see me, I'm holding up a big fat goose egg.
You got none of them?
None of them.
Sorry, I was looking at the odds.
Yeah, no.
None of them. You're fading the top.
Fading the top. Long shot Joey is back this week.
Oh, hey, and what I will say, I don't hate that on this course because this course has so much variance. There's water all over the place on 13 of the 15 holes. And in the 5 editions of this tournament, I believe a favorite has won once, 0 mid-range guys have won, and 4 long shots have won. Matthew Wolff, Cameron Champ, Michael Thompson, and Lee Hodges, while Tony Finau a couple of years ago when we first started doing the show was the one favorite to win it. So I certainly understand going with that route this week of all weeks. I know, there are probably some bigger events that you even like passing up the top of the board at too. So I certainly understand in a field like this where there's so much variance. I will say, for as much as I just explained that, I'm betting the betting favorite for the first time since I bet Scottie Schauffele at the Genesis Riviera when, by the way, that's literally when he hit rock bottom with the putter. That's the last week he used his old putter before he switched to the mallet, which sparked this crazy winning streak of his. This is the first time I'm going to the betting favorite. I'm betting Tony Finau, man. And if we've learned one thing, Joey, since we've been doing the show together, the question is, are there good players here? The answer is no. That means Tony Finau can win, baby. And he's been great at TPC Twin Cities throughout his career, dude. A win, 2 other top 7s, no finish worse than 28 and 5 career starts. And even though he missed the cut last week at Royal Troon, I think the result doesn't really show the full picture. He was actually even par through the opening round, which was really solid. He was in the top 10, but got on the bad side of the weather draw on Friday, ended up shooting 81. But even with that missed cut, he still finished in the top 20 in 6 of his last 8 starts, including a T3 at the U.S. Open, a T5 at the Travelers Championship, and a T8 at the Memorial, which is in Ohio, in the Midwestern United States. And another reason I like Finau, not only because of that recent form, he's first in strokes gained approach. I'm really looking towards total drivers this week, Joey, because TPC Twin Cities has been getting a lot of rain. Minnesota's been getting a lot of rainfall, and it's expected, especially those first couple of days with lower temperatures, that the course is going to play soft, which I think it means it's going to play longer, which I think is going to give advantage to total drivers, guys who can find the fairway and hit it a long way. And that's Tony Finau. He's been excellent. He's 6th in total driving over the last 24 rounds, 1st in approach, and he's been phenomenal in the Midwest United States. We've seen him win on this course. We've seen him win the Rocket Mortgage Classic. Both of those tournaments are with dog shit fields like we're seeing this week. So I'm in on Tony Finau, man. 12-1 Bet Rivers. I really have not gone to the top of the board often this week, and you can make an argument this is a bad course to do it, but I just love Finau's past results and his lead in form. So I am going with him at the top of the board, man. I'm all aboard the Finau train this week.
That makes a ton of sense to me. If there was one guy that I would really like at this top, I do like Akshay here too, but I mean, understandably everybody kind of does. But Finau is the guy with the course history. He's the guy that he just has the perfect fit here. And like you said, it's a poopy field, so
yeah,
it's a Finau type of event.
He's got a chance, and the putter has been really good. He's gained strokes putting in 5 of his last 6 starts. He's gained strokes putting here in his last 4 starts. Yeah, just too many things for me to ignore Tony Finau. He's first in my model this week. Yeah, so I'm all in on Big Tone, but what I will say is Akshay was definitely my second favorite from this range. I'm out on Horschel. I'm out on Thigala. I'm out on Clanton at that number. I think that's ridiculous.
Same. That's a crazy number, I think.
Crazy number for Luke
I
Clanton.
like him. I don't like him at that.
No, not when Michael Thorbjornsen, who's basically him but older, is 70-1. No, I'm not there whatsoever. But Akshay is the other one for me, and I did really want to get to him, but unfortunately Justin Rose withdrew, and that just smashed his number down to like 20, 22. And when I'm betting Finau at 12, I just couldn't ultimately make it work because there were a couple of other guys that I still got to and wanted to get to down the board. But yeah, Finau, that's it for me in this top 6. No one for you. Getting to this, we'll call it 30 to 50-1. We got Cam Davis, Keith Mitchell, Tom Hoagie all at 33. Poston, Keegan Bradley at 35. Kitayama, 40. Hadwin, Van Rooyen, Dunlap, Pendrith, 45. You got anyone from this range? I'm assuming so if you passed up at the top.
Yeah. Being from Minnesota, being as good as he is with the irons, and there were some other things I was looking at that I did like about Hoagie here. I was looking at Hoagie, of course. I usually
Things
do.
never change.
They just don't. It's kind of comical at this point. The golfers that I ride with, I die with. But I didn't go that route. Instead, I went just a hair lower than that, or a hair further, and I went with another guy, 33-1.
Keith Mitchell.
Come on, man. Come on. You already knew this.
I buried the lead, didn't I?
You did, but that's okay. Long hitter, of course. Easier type of track, though. I think that's suited for him because I don't really love when, even though it's a long type of event, there's a lot of guys that are in the field that just have a better track record on Sundays, or it's just a more top-heavy, dominant event. I think he can compete in those types of events, but it's just not the case that he just doesn't make it a consistent habit of really being there. And he was, there were some of these courses that we were looking at as course comps. Mexico Open. I was actually reading Matt Vincenzi's on golfwrx.com, his preview article this week. And he said that a lot of guys, I'm kind of summarizing this a little bit, but he basically was saying that a lot of guys have good correlation from the Mexico Open at Vedanta playing there usually is suited well for here, and guys that win here have had good success over there. So he was T19 at the Mexico Open, and one of the courses that you actually pointed out in your article, Jack, PGA National, the Cognizant Classic, he finished T9 there. Also saw that he was second in your model, so I like that too. And he's finished 5th here each of the last 2 trips. So really, there was just a lot there that I did really like about Keith Mitchell, regardless of if he was my boy or not. But since he is my boy, it just makes it that much better.
Yeah, the Mexico Open, I will say, both super driver heavy courses with super wide fairways TPC Twin Cities isn't quite as wide as Mexico is, but I haven't thought about that comp, and thinking about Tony Finau, who's obviously won at both. That is interesting. That is interesting. Something I haven't thought about. And Keith has torn this place up, and dude, his ball striking is so good.
So good.
It's so good. But his putting is so bad.
I
His
know.
putting is so bad. But what I will say for you is he putts good here. So here's his track record putting at the 3M Open. By the way, his putter he might be the worst putter on the PGA Tour right now.
No, don't say that. Luke List still exists.
That's true. Luke List does still exist. So 4 starts here. He's gained strokes putting 3 times. All 3 of them have been for at least 5 strokes. So if you're looking for a spot for Keith to putt well, there really is no better spot than this. And I like the Cognizant call out too. That's always been a happy spot for Keith Mitchell. And this is kind of like an easier PGA National with the way that water serves as the primary defense. So I certainly understand it, man. You got anyone else from in this range?
Not particularly. I didn't bet anyone else. I did look at Cam Davis.
I bet Cam Davis.
You did? Oh, okay. Well, I should have saw that in your article actually. So I guess I did know that, but I didn't remember that. But I did like. I probably liked what you were writing about him too. So a lot of things that made sense there for Cam Davis. EVR. Yeah. Are we down in that 45 a little bit too? We kind of talking that same range.
Before 50, yeah, 30 to 50.
Yeah, EVR. I believe he has the same kind of like correlation as far as tracks go.
He was good at the Mexico Open. He pissed it away on the weekend this year.
Yeah, so I could see him having a good week here.
He was also good at the Cognizant Classic. I believe he finished runner-up there.
I mean, I haven't done it, but I've bet 7 guys at this point, so I'm kind of like I'm a little bit more picky and choosy, and I went a little bit further down.
For sure.
I might. I don't know. What are your thoughts on the rest of this range?
Yeah, for me, well, I bet Cam Davis. I'll get there in a second. What I will say is outside of Cam Davis, my 2 favorites in this range, probably even just my 1 favorite, was Eric Van Rooyen. I bet him at Detroit. He was somewhat in the mix going into the weekend. I got to follow him at Detroit. He was a super cool dude, super friendly. Yeah, I am a little bit scared that he's the one that scares me that I'm missing out on in this range because I didn't bet him and I wanted to bet him. But I bet Cam Davis ultimately instead. He's just been so good in the Midwest United States. Both of his wins, obviously, come at the Rocket Mortgage Classic in Detroit. I just saw him win a couple of weeks ago. Unfortunately, that win didn't qualify him for the Open Championship, but it didn't stop him from making the trek across the Atlantic to go and play in the Scottish Open, and he really kept that form rolling. He gained over 4 strokes ball striking, another 4 strokes around the green, and that's 2 starts in a row. He's gained over 8 strokes from tee to green, and now coming back to a course where he's finished inside the top 16 in 3 of the past 4 years, and also a place that he's putted well at. He's only gained strokes putting, only gained over half a stroke putting twice, or once since the Masters in mid-April. He's done that 3 of the last 4 times he's played at TPC Twin Cities. So I think his ball striking's in good form. He has good results here. Top 10. He's top 10 here, the John Deere Classic, and obviously he's got 2 wins at the Rocket Mortgage Classic as well. He's been so good in the Midwest United States. I really feel like his irons are in a good spot right now. He's a good total driver. He's 17th in the field in total driving. Gives himself a good amount of opportunities. I feel like it's really just coming down to the putter for Cam Davis, and he's got a good putting track record here. So I jumped on him at 40-1, but yeah, it would be Eric Van Rooyen for me, if not Cam Davis in this range. But moving down to the 50s here, Joey, if we'll go 50 through 70 here, we got Ben Griffin, Mav McNeely, Sam Stevens at 50, Eckroat, Meissner, Hughes, 55, Chan Kim, Doug Gim, Pat Rogers, 60, and then Svensson, Griot, Lee Hodges at 65. Who you got in here?
I was looking at Mav at that 50 marker, but I couldn't do it. And I heard you guys talking about it before jumping on here.
A lot of my buddies, a lot of people that I talked to they were on McNeely at the John Deere Classic. And the only time I bet McNeely this year was at the Mexico Open, which kind of in hindsight was maybe the dumbest thing I could have done, because that was the earliest part of like when he had a big time shoulder injury last year, which like derailed his game. He had to get shoulder surgery, and he came back and was showing some form early. He really hasn't kept that going as of late. He's lost strokes on approach in each of his last 3 starts, lost strokes putting and off the tee in each of his last 2. I like his game long term. I just don't like him in an outright betting market to win right here, right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of with you. I ended up passing on him. We know who the Mista guy is, but
the Misna guy.
But how about the Mac Misna guy?
Yo, he's a stud. I don't know if you heard me and Ross talking about him too. Him and Max Grazerman have been 2 guys that I've been keeping on my radar for a long time here. And I'd be really heartbroken if Mac Meisner won when I wasn't on him.
Yeah, I mean, and I see why. He is 55-1 this week. I don't know if there's a better price out there, but I think that's what I bet him at. I'm not sure.
So you did officially bet Meisner though?
Yeah, I did. I'm pretty sure it was 50. Maybe I got a boost on him. I don't know. I'd have to double check. But over the last 24 rounds in this field, he's 18th in strokes gained off the tee, 27th in approach, 5th in strokes gained tee to green, and 3rd from that 150 to 175 yard bucket, which I saw on your model there. So, yeah, there's a lot to like about his game, and I would kind of somewhat feel bad if it was, you've been on him for a while now, and
I haven't been on him. I've just been keeping a stern eye. It was actually how I was before Davis Thompson won. I was keeping a real close eye on Davis Thompson. I actually watched him play in person in Detroit, and I'm like, this kid is fucking good. He's gonna win something real big soon, and he ended up winning the next week.
You picked a hell of a time though to jump out. Like that was picture perfect timing on your part to jump on.
First time I've ever bet Davis Thompson.
Wow. That's your guy now. That's your guy.
Well.
That's your guy, man. Yeah.
Do you have anyone other than Meisner in this range, though?
Let me take a quick look and see who else was in this range. Did you get down to 70 or no?
No, just 50 to 65 here.
Yeah, nothing else here. What about you?
Okay, for sure. I got to Ben Griffin, 55-1, Bet Rivers enhanced. His irons have been really good lately, man. He's gained over 2.5 strokes to the field in 5 of his past 7. He did miss the cut last week at the Open Championship, but I never thought that was a venue that was going to set up well for him, and I never imagined him to really contend in a major championship type of field. But these weaker fields where you want a lot of birdies, that's where Ben Griffin has been good recently and kind of throughout his career. And despite having these 55-1 odds, Joey, he was super high in my model, 5th among all players this week. He's 3rd in strokes gained approach, 13th from tee to green, 23rd in birdie or better, 23rd in strokes gained putting on bent grass, and he also ranks inside the top 27 in strokes gained at Detroit Golf Club. He's 27th. TPC Deer Run, he's 1st, and TPC Twin Cities, he's 14th. He made his tournament debut here last year. He finished T20. He gained strokes all across the board. So I really like where his irons are at right now. He's made improvements with the driver. The putter, kind of like Cam Davis, for me, is what kind of I feel like is going to make or break Ben Griffin because there's been a lack of consistency in his putting so far this year. However, when he putts well, he shows that he has a lot of upside. He gained over 5 strokes putting at the RBC Canadian Open, in which he finished in the top 5. And then he also gained over 7 strokes putting at the John Deere Classic. So there is putting upside there in these easier events. His irons are dialed right now. And he was someone going into this year that he had some close calls in the fall the last couple of years, and I felt like he was going to put it together and get that first win this year. And I think this is a good spot for him. So Ben Griffin, 55-1. Was the one for me in this range. But moving down into those 70s, I know sounds like you got some more in this range. We got Grazerman and Tristan Lawrence at 70, Johnny Vegas Bombs at 75, along with Michael Thor Bjornsson. Rico Hui is at 75 as well, with Andrew Novak, Bo Hostler, Jake Knapp, Kevin Yu, Matt Wallace, Seamus Power at 80. Who you got in this range?
Well, I call him Hoey.
Rico Hui.
Hui.
It is Hui. Hui.
I call him Hoey. Yeah, just because the way it's spelled.
No, I think it is Hoey.
Oh, I thought you were saying it like different.
No, it's just fun to say Rico Hoy.
So I don't know if you knew this, but a lot of people like call me Rico.
Really?
It just you have to. I don't know. So Joey Ricotta, Joe
There.
Rico,
Okay. Okay.
a little
Okay.
short. So like when I see Hoey, I just think like, oh, okay, like that kind of reminds me of like back in the
Rico
day,
Joey.
like it's like the Rico Hoey days. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but it brings me back to a different. Sounds a little provocative, but like 75-1. I don't know. I was looking into it. I kind of like it. He's very talented. Obviously, he's an up and comer, especially with the ball striking. He can ball strike. Some really good performances lately. I'm going to take the bait. I read your article, and that's someone I can get on board with. I think for sure. So not to. I want to hear your thoughts on him too. And I definitely have some more guys in this range.
Yeah. I'm all in Rico Hoy. I bet him 80-1. Bet Rivers
You
enhanced.
got a better number than I did. Yeah.
Dude, yeah, no, I'm fully in on the Rico Hoy hype train. And this is actually one thing I love about going to tournaments, Joey. Like, you get an opportunity to see some guys who maybe aren't like the common names. And this is why I like going to some smaller events too. I got to see Rico Hoy at the Rocket Mortgage Classic a few weeks ago as well. And he had a phenomenal final round to finish inside the top 10 there. And I was like, I got to take note of that because he had been someone who I had heard of, and he had really good ball striking numbers, but never could put like the short game together. And seeing him have that finish, I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep a mental note now of Rico Hoey and what he's going to be doing these next couple of weeks. And I actually bet him at the ISCO Championship 2 weeks ago. It was the alternate event from the Scottish Open. And bro, he had a one-shot lead going into the 18th on Sunday, and he put his approach shot in the drink, wound up making bogey. It goes to a 5-man playoff. He ends up losing.
How far was the approach shot from? Or was it a bad lie or something? Or
No, he was from the middle of the fairway. I think adrenaline just got the better. He lost it long. It wasn't like he like hit a shit shot and hit it into the water. I think adrenaline just got the best of him, and he ended up hitting the ball further than he thought he was going to, and it trickled off the back and went into the water. But he had another opportunity last week at the Barracuda. He was T3 going into the weekend. Didn't get it done again, but still finished T8. But yeah, I firmly believe in the talent that Rico Hoy has. If you just go and look at the numbers from this season, he's already cemented himself as one of the best drivers on the PGA Tour. He's 9th in total driving, 15th off the tee, 24th in strokes gained tee to green over the past 24 rounds. He's only dropped strokes off the tee twice the entire season. The ball striking has been immaculate. He's gained 4 strokes or more ball striking in 3 of his last 4. And the putter has turned around. He gained strokes putting twice in his first 11 starts of the year. He's gained strokes putting in 5 starts in a row, Joey, and all of them have been for over a stroke. So combining his total driving, which I think is going to play very well on a softer TPC Twin Cities where he can hit it far and hit it straight. His irons have been dialed in recently, and now he's got the putter cooperating alongside him. This kid's finished inside the top 8 in 3 of his last 4 starts, man. Finished inside the top 26 in all 4 of them. I've been keeping an eye on him. I had him at the ISCO. It's not going to deter me from betting him again, man. I really do believe in his talent and his ball striking. So, yeah, I'm in at Rico Hoey. That capped off my card this week, 80-1.
Wow, nice. It's a good look. It's a good call. You got to be a real true golf sicko to be betting the ISCO, though. I will say.
Yeah, it was gross. It was gross. But Rico, man, I'm telling you, like he's got it. He's got it. I think Rico can be in the mix this weekend again.
I like it. I definitely like it. Liked it enough to tail you on that. Let's see. Thriston Lawrence, 70-1. 27 years old, not real well known necessarily, I don't think yet, but he's got 8 professional wins, man, on his resume. Just looking into it, and of course, he was just in the mix. Many of those have come, from top international competition too. So it's not like he's facing some bums to get those wins. 4th place at the Open. He had a T, which of course, you could look at and be like, well, you were that good there. Like, what makes you going to be that good this week? Like, that could be out of nowhere. And that's true. He had a T2 though at the European Open recently. over the last 24 rounds, he's 8th in strokes gained off the tee. If you believe these stats, which we don't know are they truly accurate or not, I don't know. 24th in birdie or better rate. And I only say we don't know for sure if they're truly accurate or not, because sometimes when you're talking international stats, that can get a little bit wonky there. But he looks good. He looks like he could be somebody that could be in contention here. 70-1, I thought would be a pretty good number. Another guy here, you mentioned him, Vegas Bombs, good old Johnny Vegas. 75-1. Recent good stretch, I think, over the last few events. He's tremendous off the tee. We know that, and with the irons, perfectly suited for this course, given that he just can make enough putts, and that's always an if with Johnny Vegas. And normally it's not even a question if he can, because he just doesn't. Not sure he'll be able to, but yeah, does have a second place finish here at TPC Twin Cities, so I thought that was worth a flyer. And then Jake Knapp, 80-1, who I know you've been on, at least a decent amount, and he won the Mexico Open earlier in February. So we've seen him have the ability to close, and that is one of the courses that it's drawn my attention, as pointed out by people, to look at here as a correlation course. And he's 15th in the field in strokes gained off the tee. So yeah, I do think that could be. He was also really good at the PGA National too, or at PGA National. He was T4. So that's good enough for me at this price. So those are the guys. How many do I have? Four guys in this range, this 70-1 to 80-1, and it's kind of sickening. It's a little gross, but this is the week, I think, Jack, for me to just go out on a limb. It's been a minute since I haven't really been fully betting each card either. So I figured, why not just try to make up a little bit of ground and potentially lost opportunity and just try to hit one that's a little further down.
Hey, I really actually like the card that you are constructing here. A lot of good total drivers. First, for Thurston Lawrence, what I will say is this guy just absolutely nukes the ball off the tee. Just hits a power cut every single time and mashes the golf ball. And you talked about his prowess from overseas, like not a household name, maybe a little bit more common now after being in the mix at the Open, but he's been a good DP World Tour player for a long time. Like usually rattles off 1 or 2 wins a year or every 2 years on that tour. So he is certainly capable, and with his driving ability, I think this could be a good course for him. Johnny Vegas is like kind of in the same form off the tee. The guy just always crushes the ball off the tee. I mean, that's what
always
Johnny Vegas does. It's funny. I just pulled up his profile. Him and Keith Mitchell are literally like brothers from another mother. Like they're literally the same people. They just crush the ball from off the tee, and you pray to God that they can make enough putts. But hey, Vegas also does have a good track record here. And talking about bombers, Jake Knapp, that's what he does. Unleash off the tee. And you referenced, that is weird how many Cognizant Classic, Mexico Open type of crossovers that we're getting. Those courses aren't similar, but we oddly are getting comparisons, and you can make arguments that they both have similarities to TPC Twin Cities. So I certainly understand it, and then I'm all aboard your boy Rico Hui this week. So that takes care of things up to 80-1. Now that we hit this 90 range, kind of when the names start falling off, we're up over an hour 15 here. So I think it's time to get to the point of shout out names for shouting out names. I'm sure you probably got some bets from down here. So I don't. Rico Hui is where I capped off my card, but I do have opinions on some guys. But let me know who else you got from down here.
Yeah, kind of got a little interesting here as we looked further. I will say I did take some guys into consideration, like let's see here. Ben Silverman is the guy that I am betting at 110-1. And then there's
the
I'll
Canadian.
talk about why here in a second. Carson Young kind of drew my interest a little bit.
Yeah.
At 120. Justin Lauer, of course, but I didn't really there was certain things about the profile that I just didn't see him. I just can't see him coming through though, and that's the biggest issue I think I have too. But as long as we're just shouting out names here, but I do like Silverman. And I noticed one of the guys in your profile too, or in your model this week, Kevin Yu was kind of crazily high in your model. So I don't know if I don't know. I couldn't get there, but I did find that noticeable. 110-1, Ben Silverman, though. Yeah, not a huge distance guy. Like, he not really, but he's pretty accurate. He had success at the Mexico Open as well. That's another one. 17th this year in distance from edge of the fairway, which I thought could be important when you're talking about like the water coming into play. 15th in strokes gained putting, 11th in this field over the last 24 rounds, 29th in strokes gained approach over the last 24 rounds in this field as well. 7 straight top 40 finishes, inside the top 20 at the Mexico Open and the Cognizant Classic. So, yeah, I just figured, we're getting to that point where long shots, just for long shots, I'm not going to just throw it at anybody, but if it's somebody that does have, is looking pretty decent, and I could make a case for Ben Silverman, I'm definitely there at that 110 price. What are some guys that you're looking at though, as far as just, I don't know, some longer shot odds?
Yeah, what I will say real quick first, though, to add on to your Ben Silverman hype train, is looking at his profile on rickrungood.com. Bentgrass is by far his preferred putting surface in his PGA Tour career by far, which we get this week. And he finished inside the top 20 at both the John Deere Classic and the Rocket Mortgage Classic. His irons and putting have been really good. So I do like that Ben Silverman shout. Kevin Yu is literally Johnny Vegas and Keith Mitchell. He hits the fuck out of the ball and can't make a putt to save his life. Guys, I was thinking about down here. Well, first off, I do want to say I forgot to shout this out in the last range. Michael Thorbjornsen 75-1 is just a phenomenal number, man. I promise you, like, I love Luke Clanton, and I found him on Good 2 years ago. It's been incredible to watch him burst onto the scene still as an amateur. If you're asking me whose career I want, like if I have to go Michael Thorbjornsen versus Luke Clanton right here, right now, I get to pick one who's going to have a better career. I'm going Michael Thorbjornsen.
Yeah.
And to see him have triple the odds of Luke Clanton was pretty crazy to me.
Why do you think that is, though? Is it just popularity at this point?
I think so. Yeah. Thorbjornsen had a good, like, hold on. Let me pull up Thorbjornsen's numbers. Because maybe he hasn't been as consistent, and it's basically just the last 2 starts, literally is it, because Thorbjornsen finished 61st at the Barracuda and missed the cut at the ISCO. He was still T2 at the John Deere Classic. Like, this kid can play. T17 at the John Deere Classic the year prior. Clanton has been posting high finishes a little bit more consistently. I still think Michael Thorbjornsen has the higher ceiling, and I think his driver is just as good, too. They both mash the crap out of the golf ball.
Quick question was and I didn't look at this, so I don't know. Did Clanton open up at 25 or did he get bet down?
He opened there. He's kind of fluctuated between 25 and 30. Yeah, it was crazy. I think he actually might have had a bigger number than Akshay when he opened. I'm like, that's bananas. It's bananas. I love Luke Clanton. I'm not betting him at that number. But getting into the 100, some guys who I think about, there honestly weren't really all that many that I considered. I did think about David Skins, 300-1. He's someone who popped up at the Cognizant Classic. I've kind of been keeping an eye on him a little bit. I don't hate if you're like taking a shot from someone down the board. Ches Reavie was in the mix a little bit here last year. No one really gets my rocks up, though, if I'm being quite honest, from this long shot range. Like, I kind of, when I was diving into all of their profiles, I just found like a glaring weakness that kind of turned me away from all of these guys. And maybe that's a disservice on my part because long shots have done so well here in the past. I don't know. I just didn't really trust any of them. Neil Shipley, 120-1. I don't hate, but I don't think he's going to win. I just don't think any of these guys are really going to win.
Yeah, it gets to a point where it's just like, how realistic is it? And I know it's a good number and all of that, and we bring that up throughout every show that we've ever done with certain guys, but it just gets to a point where it's like, all right, long shot or not, if you're in contention on Sunday, I'm live betting whoever's behind you if you're in the lead.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like, why am I betting you
right
at this price? Because I don't believe it.
Yeah, I just don't believe in them getting over the finish line. I thought about Zach Blair, 200-1. He was in a playoff with Rico Hoy at the ISCO a couple of weeks ago. I thought that was a decent number, but No, nothing really over 100 really even like almost suckered me in. The closest I was the David Skins 350 to 1.
What's that Skins is interesting that you're calling him. I really haven't looked at him at all.
There's not much to look at if I'm being quite honest here.
What what has Luke List done recently? Just out of curiosity,
I'll pull up his profile.
because wouldn't this be a listy like course? Not so much. I don't know.
Should be just nuke
Yeah.
the golf ball.
Right.
Let's see how bad this old putter has been since we haven't heard anything from Luke List in months.
That's the only thing we ever look at with him.
Dude, he's down bad right now. And the fucked up part is he's actually not putting terrible. It's his approach is terrible.
He's putting better though.
Dude, he's gained strokes putting in 3 of his last 4.
He might be able to figure out the approach for a random week.
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't see him winning though.
His approach has been so bad. He's gained strokes on his approach twice in his last 9 starts.
Yeah, no, you got to have some kind of approach here.
No, he's just not in that not nearly in the form that he was in from Sanderson Farms when we saw him win in the fall to when he came second at Riv. Like, he was in an amazing iron run and still spotting in those putting weeks like we're seeing now. I just don't believe in the irons right now.
Yeah. Yep. Glad we looked into it, and glad we shut it down quick.
That's updates on Luke List provided by Jack and Joey.
UntapedSportsNet.com.
You got anything else? You got any other guys you wanted to shout out before we get to the old one and done ski?
Nah, that's it, man. I got nothing else. That's my entire card. 7 guys. Maybe buying into one more that we talked about. Can't remember who that was, but there might be one more.
Update on the one and done. I do still have the lead. We both went on a pretty terrible run from Rocket Mortgage, and John Deere was gross for both of us. I had Matt Wallace miss the cut at Rocket Mortgage. You had Taylor Pendrith, who made the cut, but
barely.
Came in second to last place after making the cut. So that only got you 3 points. I did give you one, though. You had Substraka at the John Deere. He made the cut. He finished 61st, not the result you would have liked. However, I picked Sungjae at the John Deere, and I didn't realize I must have scrolled by it. I actually used Sungjae earlier in the year, so that got scrapped. That was a miscut for me. But I had John Rahm last week at the Open. You had Morikawa to kind of right the ship.
I thought that was really going to be close until
it was
Morikawa had
the final round.
Yeah, Morikawa started
yeah, he tapered off, and Rombo had a good finish. My one and done, I am still in the lead. I'm going Cam Davis.
Ooh, okay. All
right.
I
can let you know who you got available.
Out of the big dogs here, that's kind of – because, I mean, this is one of the last opportunities that you really need to use I mean, you know, if you have somebody that's towards the top, I guess it's time to go, you know?
Yeah, I'm seeing if you've used Finau.
Yeah, I think I have, but I don't know.
No, you haven't used Finau if you want to use them.
I have used Burns, though. I know that, right?
Can you hear me still, by the way?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, use Burns at Riviera.
Well,
you have not used Finau, though.
I don't see another opportunity that I would want to use him other than, it's a Finau week for me, because the only other guy I was thinking about using if I had used him would be EVR. Let's go with Finau. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you haven't. Have you used EVR?
I doubt it.
No, you haven't used EVR. I did use EVR, though. Where did I?
You did. Where'd you use him at?
Super early in the year. Something stupid.
Fall?
Yeah, I bet him at the American Express, or one and done him at the American Express, I should say.
Okay. So Cam Davis versus Tony Finau.
Cam Davis versus Tony Finau it is this week, brother.
All right.
Glad to have you back.
Yeah, it's good to be back, man. This is we're gonna get in the swing of things here now. I mean, it's you guys have been doing a great job on the previews and the recaps, and you know, we'll and it sounds like your cards you're right there, and you just took down Davis Thompson, so Xander's kind of, it sucks not getting the major, but like good for Xander.
Nothing I can do about that one.
Yeah,
there's ones you just got to take on the chin and move on, and that was one of them. But yeah, man, we're heating up towards one of our favorite times of the year for sure. And also next week we got the Olympics. We got Olympic golf going on next week. So if you got free time, let me know, brother. Always enjoy having you on. And thank you to everyone who tuned in to this elongated episode of Golf on Tap with both Ross and Joey joining myself. Be sure, if you haven't done so already, to go and follow Golf on Tap for free wherever you may be listening into your podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever it may be. Make sure to go and show some support. And that way you can also check out all of our latest episodes if you're not able to catch up with us live. Quick shout out to our sponsor, Bet Rivers. Be sure to go and use promo code ONTAP to get up to a $250 match at Bet Rivers if you're not already a member there. And go and show some love on the YouTube feed as well. Be sure to comment and interact with us. We enjoy hearing who you're tailing, who you're fading. And I just noticed now, oh, that was you who said that comment that I missed earlier. I was like, I just missed a comment earlier, and it's Joey.
I think I was talking about the player of the year when you guys were. It was a good question, good debate. You guys were talking about player of the year. I think that's a great conversation to have because this will be my last thought of the show. What we saw from Scottie Schauffele was one of the most historic stretches, if not the most historic stretch of golf we've ever seen, and how the amount of wins that he has, but you're talking a guy with 2 majors.
That's fascinating.
I'll just give you my opinion. I'm going with Scottie, and I know that's probably not the right answer here when we're talking the importance of majors, but to me, what he did was so damn impressive and consistent that, I don't know. I've never seen it.
What I will say is I don't think there's a right answer. I think that's why this is such a popular debate as of right now, and why I believe the FedEx Cup playoffs is probably going to determine it, because I think you could make a case for either guy, Scottie having the greater total of victories and just the consistency, basically finishing in the top 10 every single week. While Xander's been super consistent too. He is the number 2 player in the world, and he's rattled off 2 major championships, which, by the way, now have him tied with Scottie Schauffele for career majors. So it's going to be fascinating to see how it shakes out through the FedEx Cup playoffs. I'll be excited to be betting the FedEx Cup playoffs. Make sure to follow Golf on Tap on X so you don't miss out when we go live to dive into our cards and to recap events every single week. Thank you again to everyone who tuned in. Until next week, crack 'em, lock 'em. We'll see you next time.